Interior, tavern, night. The main room of the inn. Darkened corners are illuminated by the flickering firelight emanating from the center of the room. There are a dozen or so patrons at the bar as Max staggers into the inn, disheveled and walking unsteadily. Gamel notices him. Slightly surprised, he looks Max up and down. Convinced that Max is okay, Gamel nods to himself and goes back to speaking in a hushed tone with the innkeeper. Cyrten, who has been wiping tables, drops her towel and comes over to Max.
Are you all right?
Sure, never better. Why do you ask?
Well, maybe because you're white as a ghost and your arm is bleeding through your shirt.
Oh, that. Don't worry. I'll be right as rain in a few.
Max takes an unsteady step, bumping into a table and knocking over a glass.
Days? Come on.
Cyrten grabs his arm and leads Max through the tavern and into the kitchen.
Here, sit down.
Max sits where she indicates. Cyrten goes to the fire, ladles out some water, finds a clean rag, and then comes over to Max.
Yeah, maybe this isn't a good idea. Won't your father be mad at you for bringing me back here like this?
He won't be mad, and he's not my father.
Maybe I should get Gamal to help.
You mean your father?
Well, he's not my father. Well, I can't really say exactly what he is. My teacher, my mentor, mostly my friend. Anyway, no matter what he is, he's really good with dressing wounds, and I think...
Max starts to stand. Cyrten gently pushes him back into his seat.
Relax. I'm good at this. I used to have to fix up my father's wounds when Mother was away. Take off your shirt.
Okay.
Max takes off his shirt. Although lean, he's very muscular. Cyrten notices.
How often did your father get into scuffles?
Fairly often.
Cyrten dabs his wound.
Ow! How often was your mum away?
Almost never.
Great.
Cyrten continues cleaning Max's wound.
Sorry again for bumping into you yesterday. And sorry about the trouble.
Don't worry about it. Worse things have happened since then.
Cyrten finishes cleaning the wound.
There. Now let me get this bandage on you.
Cyrten starts tearing up a cloth rag.
So where are your folks?
They were killed last spring.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
I know you didn't know. That's why you asked.
She gives him a half-hearted smile.
What happened?
They were killed by some soldiers from Cydia. Look, do you want something to eat? You're kind of skinny.
Skinny? Do you really think... Sure. Thanks.
Cyrten looks through some cabinets, finds some ingredients, and starts chopping up some vegetables. There's an uncomfortable silence.
Hey, what's wrong with the stew in the pot? It smells great.
So does the oleander blossom. Would you eat that?
Well, no, it's poisonous, but what does that have to do with... Oh.
Cyrten continues preparing the food, quite intently. She doesn't say anything for a long time.
Have I done something to upset you?
Cyrten pauses from chopping.
I'm sorry. It's just... I haven't spoken about the death of my family to anyone.
Cyrten continues chopping with increasing force.
Because I thought it would defile their memory if it became the subject of idle gossip. Basically, it's no one's business but mine. And besides, no one really cares what happened but me.
The last line is delivered with one loud, final chop.
Well, that's not so. I care. I mean, if you want to tell me.
I don't think I could stand it if everyone in the village was whispering about it.
I won't tell anyone.
She sets down her knife and gives him a penetrating look.
I know you won't. I don't know why, but I feel like I've known you for a long time. I feel like I can trust you.
I have that kind of face.
Really?
Cyrten continues her food prep in silence.
Can I help?
No, really. There's nothing that can be done. It was almost a year ago, and I should be getting on with my life.
I understand, but I was asking if I could help prepare the food.
Oh, no, you just sit there and rest up. Looks like you had a bit of trouble.
Yeah, but I got the best of them. I think they really hurt their hands while they were pummeling me.
So what happened?
Just an old score. I think it's settled now.
Another awkward silence. Max is tapping his hands lightly and looking around the room.
You know, you were right.
About what?
You can trust me.
There really are so few.
I think you must believe that because you're Sedaean.
What makes you think I'm Sedaean?
The tattoo.
She covers her hand.
Ugh, I'm thinking of having my hand removed. What do you think?
Sounds kind of extreme. You're not Sedaean?
By Sedaean laws, I am. My father was Sedaean, so they consider me to be. My father had me marked when I was 8 to avoid any trouble. But my mother was Elorian, so by Elorian laws, I'm Elorian. We lived on the border, practically with one foot in each country.
Is that why your father was in a lot of scrapes? It would be hard to avoid annoying people if he lived a split life like that.
My father was a merchant. He liked to refer to himself as sovereign. He didn't like anyone telling him what to do. So he would use our circumstances when it suited him. He'd tell the Sedaeans what they wanted to hear, and he'd tell the Elorians what they wanted to hear. Of course, no one ever checked, and though they'd be annoyed and give him a speech about allegiance, they'd leave us more or less alone.
So, are you Elorian or Sedaean?
Neither. I'm Cyrten. And you?
I'm Max. Pleased to meet you.
Max reaches his hand out. Cyrten shakes it.
Pleased to make your acquaintance. I've known your name since the other day. I asked around. Sometime you'll have to tell me how you got such a strange name.
Yeah, but not right now.
She places the prepared food on a plate.
Here you go. My specialty.
She sets the plate in front of him.
Thanks. You're not eating?
She sits down across from him.
I've eaten. Please, go ahead.
He begins eating.
So it sounds like your father played both sides pretty well. What happened?
Some Sedaean soldiers came through, led by General Brego. What they were doing so close to Elor, I'll never know. Guarding the border, I suppose. But why was there a general?
That does seem strange.
Anyway, my mom ushered me out to the back door and told me to run to the woods. But of course, I didn't. I hid around the side of the house and listened. For some reason, Brego wanted to take my brother with him, and my father refused. I heard swords being drawn and several shouts and groans. Then Brego came out of the house with my brother. They tied him up, flung him over a horse, and rode off. I ran back into the house. They were all dead. My mother, my father, and 2 soldiers. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even bury them. I just ran and ran until I ended up here, in this village. Mr. Teper lets me stay here in the inn, as long as I make myself useful.
Cyrten breaks down completely. Max moves around the counter and puts his arms around her. She buries her face in his shoulder and continues to cry. After a moment, she looks up at him and pushes him away.
Why didn't my father just give Brego what he wanted? Why? I don't understand it. All this waste. It would have been better for my brother to be conscripted into the army or whatever Brego wanted, rather than for everyone to be dead. Why didn't he just give in?
Because if he did, he wouldn't have been who he was.
Cyrten stops mid-sob and looks up at Max.
You understand that?
Yes. You loved your father for who he was. If he had given up your brother without a fight, he wouldn't be the man you loved.
She melts back into his arms and cries a bit more.
I knew you'd understand.
She sniffs, shudders, and straightens up, collecting herself.
But what of you? Where are your folks? How do you end up living with Gamel?
Oh, I barely remember my parents. Gamel rescued me from a battlefield when I was around 7 years old. Since then, I've lived with him. I mean, he raised me, saw that I was educated, and has taken good care of me pretty much my entire conscious life. I'm lucky, really, only...
Only what?
Well, I shouldn't really say because, like I said, I'm really lucky that Gamel took me in. But not knowing my own background is like a huge hole in my soul that can't be filled. I'd like to know more about my parents, my history. And just once I'd like to have a chance to make my own choice about something. That's all.
Cyrten gets a mischievous look in her eyes, sidles up to Max, and locks her hands around his neck.
Ooh, I have an idea.